Okay, I guess we're going to get started then. Uh, Thanks for joining us. This is Bob Coppedge, CEO, Grand Poobah, whatever, of Simplex-IT. And this is our first formal presentation of what we're calling COMITS, which is co-managed IT services for organizations. Oddly enough, we've been really doing this for years, and actually about 20% of our customers are on some form of co-managed IT, and we finally got our heads around the fact that we should probably tell people that we do this. So anyway, bear with me, and actually would love some feedback on this presentation because we think this is a great thing, and it's challenging on how to communicate this. Uh, Honestly, partially because it is so flexible. So, in any case, unlike most webinars that we do, fair warning, is not a sales pitch. This kind of is. And it goes against our grain because if you know us, you know we don't do a lot of sales pitches alike. This is really going to be, we're going to be describing what we see as the challenge and the opportunity and kind of our approach to it. So it really won't, hopefully it won't be too over the top, but I apologize in advance if some of this stuff comes off as a little bit salesy. So I don't like it any more than you guys do. Anywho, uh, those of you who don't know, we've got our NASCAR slide with all of the stuff we do. Yada yada yada. Are we wonderful? Yes, indeed. This is our calendar for the rest of this year, which includes next weekend. Actually, next week on the 15th, we have a luncheon hour here at our international worldwide headquarters in Stowe that we're going to be talking about IT topics that CEOs need to know. And this actually comes into play a bit with the commits. And then on the 28th, we got Project Online and the stupid holiday tricks. We got our 6th annual Geek Raffle, and I really should get that number down. I think it might be more like 7th or 8th. And then IT security, which we really got to start calling cybersecurity. That seems to be the accepted term for it from a CEO's perspective. So those are the things we've got. And then we've got the Simplex IT practice, the DBA, more on the SQL side, and then Patty heads up the PM project management practice, yada, yada, yada. Let's get through that stuff. Okay, so um, when we talk about, so we're talking, in this particular case, we're talking specifically about organizations that already have some form of internal IT resource. And I want to be really clear here. Traditional managed services, which is that monthly agreement that in return for some fee, usually a fixed fee or relatively fixed fee, that the third party, us, will go ahead and do some or all of the IT services. And usually the idea is we replace the IT resource. And it's funny because people talk to me about, hey, I'm a job creator because I hire people. And the fact is, no, I'm actually a job killer because we do it more effectively and more efficiently. Sort of. We'll get to that in a second. Um, but this is totally different. This is where we're looking to work with the existing IT resources and we're looking to make them better. This is a partnership. This is a situation where we're going to work with you, assuming you're the IT person, and make you and what you do better. And I can't stress that enough. I've known some people who have thought that you bring in a managed service and their ultimate goal is to replace you. And we've got companies that are doing this co-managed IT with us for years, and they're still there. And they still like us. Which, if you ask my wife, liking me for any number of years is a challenge. So traditionally we've got two types of situations. We got one is the one person. So there's one person at the organization who is the IT person, the IT guy or gal. And part of the challenge there is depending upon the size of the organization and the complexity of the organization, that person, first of all, they're always putting out fires because it's a challenge sometimes to implement things correctly, the best practice way, because you're not given the time. You're supposed to be upgrading the network, but you're great in terms of managing or maintaining the network, but adding to it or upgrading it, that's a little bit past your skill grade. And it's tough to get A, justification for cost of training, but B, you don't have the time. And then the third, and this is critical, you know the business better than we ever will. You know what the company does and because you're there all the time. And there are things that you could do that would actually help the company do its core business better. But you can't because you have to upgrade a workstation, which anybody could do that. And when you go on vacation, it isn't a vacation. It's just you've moved your office to a beach. They still find you. And you may not care about this, but if you left the company, nobody knows. Jack of all trades, master of none, and there's no time to consider newer technologies. So if you're a one-person shop, you know all this. If it's an IT department, so you actually have several people, so then what if you have specific needs? So you have, specific SQL is a big one that we do a lot of work with SQL with companies. But you don't have the time or expertise, and you may have that need, but you don't need 40 hours a week of it. So you need that higher level, and your department's focused on the applications. So your department is actually in that earlier example where we're talking about making the company better. That's really the primary focus. You want the company, or excuse me, you want your IT group department to be focusing on that, not, again, the common stuff. And again, you can't keep up with the newer technologies. So the traditional solutions in this world is what I call SEAGULL vendors, and then GRIN and Barrett and quick fix de jour. So SEAGULL, this is actually a play on the term SEAGULL management. Someone flies in out of nowhere, squawks, leaves droppings, does nothing, and then flies away. SEAGULL vendors, and we've been a SEAGULL vendor, all right? And this is actually a little bit tongue-in-cheek because some of them are absolutely fantastic and they're great. That's where you may have a vendor, or you just pick the vendor based on circumstance and situations. They don't have a normal 24/7 connection, but they will come in and they will work on a specific problem, a specific job. They'll do that and then they go away. And the challenge on that is some cases they go away without really doing a lot of skills transfer. So you may have the solution that they did, but you're not quite sure how they did it. Or you're barely left enough information so that you can manage or maintain whatever that solution was. But the bottom line, and really the key thing, is it's a vendor. So it's not an ongoing relationship. It's a relationship based on a specific need, and it's short term. Okay? By the way, if anybody has any questions whatsoever, like I said, just throw it through the text. GRIN and Barrett. We don't have time. We don't have time to fix this. We don't have time to deal with this issue. Yeah, this is a little bit of this is really older technology, and the newer stuff works much, much better, but we don't have time to upgrade it. So companies essentially say, we don't invest a lot in IT. IT is not a high priority. And why? Because it never has been, and the company hasn't gone out of business yet. And the problem with that, from a personal standpoint, if you're the IT person, is that means, by definition, your skill set is going to be stuck 4 years ago, 6 years ago. And we've run into this in several situations where we're brought in a co-managed situation, and their IT person, part of the problem is they're maintaining or managing a Server 2003 or Server 2008 environment, and they're asked to upgrade to Server 2012. They have no idea what that means. So a lot of cases they'll use the SEAGULL management, the SEAGULL vendor, to come in and do it, but then they have no idea what they're left with. In the GRIN and Barrett, they just leave it. So we're just going to run with that 2008 structure as long as it works, until something happens big time. When something happens big time, then the upgrade has to happen because it's an emergency. And it may not be an emergency as in the place is burning down, but it's an emergency in terms of we have to do this because of specific business need or business requirement. And unfortunately that means that the circumstances are dictating to us when to actually implement a solution, as opposed to us dictating to the circumstances, which is what we prefer. And one of the things I brought up was the boiling toad syndrome. For those of you who are, sadistic, you may have heard of this, but toads, if you take a pan of water at room temperature and you put a toad in it, the toad's going to be happy. It's going to be sitting there, living a good toad life. And then if you turn up the temperature, as the temperature rises, the toad, being cold-blooded, doesn't recognize the delta, doesn't recognize the fact that the change is happening to his or her environment. Yes, toads are his or her. And so we'll literally sit there in a thing of boiling water and boil to death and be totally happy with the whole situation because they don't recognize the change that occurs. This happens in companies with IT that doesn't look forward. And this is what happens with a lot of, especially the smaller IT organizations. So that's the grin and bear it. And the third is a quick fix du jour. That's where essentially it's, I was a big fan of the old TV show MASH, and they always refer to it as meatball surgery. Patch them up, move them on. And in a lot of cases, whether it be because of the skill set, because of the budget, because of the workload, because of whatever, every solution is a quick one. Every solution is a patchwork. Now, normally, when a managed service provider is talking to a company with that pitch, we're talking about, and that's why you should get rid of your IT department. Because that's traditional managed services. Traditional managed services is we replace the IT, the internal IT staff. We then perform all of the tasks, all of the services, and we don't really communicate the technical stuff to the customer because that's what they're paying us to do. And it's a good relationship. It's a good goal set. It's a good, all that stuff is good. But here's the thing. What we can't do, and we talk about, we push the fact that we're doing it, but we can't do it as effectively as an equally qualified and equally incentivized whatever employee. We can't know your business as far as the true ins and outs as well as an internal IT person. Now, caveat to that. The exception being is if you have an internal IT person that doesn't give a hoot. If that internal IT person is not productive, is not taking advantage, is not understanding the business, then we can do it better than they can. All right? But if you get a good, and there are plenty of them who are good, qualified, they want their business to succeed, they want to understand it, they want to learn more, they want to do better, that's the one thing that we, meaning managed service providers, will never replace. We can't do it. I don't care whether it's an offshore, into big guys like any of the, whatever. We can't do that better than you can. So now we get to what we're doing. Co-managed IT services. Here's the key thing, the one takeaway. This is a partnership. This is a relationship. There's one company in particular who were actually brought in on this, and we were brought in, and management told us, if this guy, we're not sure we like our guy. We're not sure he's a good fit for us. So you're going to get this contract, but we want you to tell us whether or not he's a good guy. Okay? I want to stress, that sucked. That put us in a really bad situation because I did not want to get additional business out of them. They wanted to know. Within a month, I was able to go back to management and say, he's right. You guys are wrong. The fact that he's actually been saying things that make sense as far as what needed to be done and what's what some of the challenges and some of the issues of the organization, and he actually had ideas on how to solve it. You need to listen to him. That was about 2 years ago. He's still there. He ended up, he did not like us at first, I can also add. And he's now one of our biggest fans. And he's always said, hey, if you ever need me to talk to anybody or whatever, let me know. I love you guys. And also the company, they love him too. They like and respect us. So we're here to make internal IT staff better. That's the core issue. And how do we do that? We monitor all the network resources, and we give you the access to the monitoring. And we teach you how to use the monitoring. Because if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And then we provide the additional support. And this is key. We can provide it to the layer and level that you need. If you're a one-person shop, we can be that go-to. I'm not quite sure how to do this. Here's what I'm thinking. And we can say, yeah, that works. Or that doesn't work, try this. Or this is totally out of my wheelhouse. Can you guys handle it? Sure. And we'll show you how it works afterwards or how we did it. And since we're not going away, we don't have to budget or be specific about here's what we're going to do. And if we make documentation, and we do, you get the documentation. And the roles and responsibility can be defined, can be specified to the level of your need. So we're flexible. And I'll get to how flexible that can be in a second. So here are the tools that we've got monitoring available for. And all of these monitoring pieces, parts, you get access to as the IT staff. So we give you the ability, and including, these are also management tools. So you can use these tools to actually log in remotely to some of your resources or make configuration changes. We'll give you that capability as well. So you can have an actual inventory of your hardware, inventory of your software. You can see whether or not there's firmware updates that are available, how your patching is, how your warranty information is, all of that kind of fun stuff. It's there. And there's a lot of tools that are available, Spiceworks being the poster child, where it's available. You can download, you can use that. It's free, but you have to configure it. We've already configured these. We've already configured these for dozens of sites. So we can start with the best practice and then specialize the configuration for you for whatever applications. So if you have a particular ERP application that has certain events that happen, we can customize the alerts so that we're looking for specific events. We can also protect specific workstations. Hey, this workstation is the CEOs or the CFOs. We can configure alerts that'll tell us if anybody other than these 3 accounts try to log on to those systems. Those are the kind of things. And we've already got the checklist. We already know the questions. It's just a relatively simple process of implementing those procedures. So we start with the basics. And the basics are monitor. So we implement the monitoring on the server side or the infrastructure side. By server, I mean any of the Windows, Mac, Androids, workstations and servers, and then add the infrastructure, the remote user desktop, so on and so forth. By the way, we also have clients who have none of this. All they want is the monitoring of the SQL because we're their DBAs. So a similar list, but specifically aimed at SQL stuff. And we track the warranties, the hardware and software inventories. We can add the backup strategies, business continuity strategies, the patching. And these are all things that we can sit down and we can look at and say, yep, you've got these, you don't have these, whatever. We're easy. Then there's some additional stuff. Let's start adding security. We've got a reasonable, I think pretty darn good, security practice in terms of being able to, the multi-layers of security, whether it be on the UTM side, the workstation side, even the employee side, including end-user cybersecurity training. So you can track which of your employees have actually taken the class, making air quotes now for some weird reason. Dark web monitoring, all of these are available. Now I want to stress one thing here. You're going to see more and more use of the term MSSP, MSP, Managed Service Provider. You're now seeing Managed Security Services Provider, which are organizations that are full-blown 100% on the security side. That's what they do. I want to stress, we are not an MSSP. We definitely have a good practice as far as our security strategies go. And as you saw earlier, and I know you took notes, we've got a webinar coming up on cybersecurity strategies from the CEO perspective. But if you're truly looking for someone to partner with that is going to be specifically security and really take it to that nth level, and that's the key thing. If you're really going to be very, very, especially if you're looking at HIPAA, SOX, any of that sort of stuff, we can do that, we can help, but I don't want to imply that we are, the specialists and all that good fun stuff. So, because I'm not gonna lie, it's just not what we do. The lying stuff, the security stuff we do. Some unique stuff, as I mentioned. We do SQL high level down to the nitty gritty as far as monitoring. This is especially useful if companies have web facing portals that do a lot of SQL transactional stuff or a lot of the BI side, all that. And then we've also got the database health monitoring, BI implementation assistance on that, and then project management, which with Patty handles a lot of that implementation and assistance. So we've got the flexibility on all of those kind of things. Now, the key points, and the first one is really critical here, no long-term commitment. agreements are 30-day out. And what I mean by that, and why this is so important, is we have specified roles, but it's flexible to the needs of the situation. So we don't run into the, we don't include that. Here's a problem. Yeah, that's outside of the contract or whatever. What happens instead is we help you on that situation, and then we come back and we go, hey, we need to, that seemed to be a little bit outside, so let's renegotiate. Let's talk about whether or not we should do that moving forward, or we need to increase the cost of that, or whatever. Or you may find out that, boy, you guys were really, really helpful to begin with, but now I'm pretty comfortable. I know these things now, so let's pull back your level of support. Either way, it's absolutely fine because it's a relationship. So it changes. Now, if either party yin-yangs all over the place and it becomes a piñata, well, I don't know why I came up with piñata, but it changes dynamically every month because we can't make up our minds, then we have to have a bit of a talk. But as long as at the end of the month, both parties are saying, yes, we're getting that. Yes, this is working well. And I got to tell you, we have lost contracts. Any company has. I don't think we've lost any co-managed contracts yet. And actually, one of our first clients was a co-managed IT. So, and if any clients we've lost, has never been because of this, because of the kind of flexibility we've got. In fact, it's a strength. So, the setup includes configuring the monitoring tools. So we set up, and we've got default monitoring procedures or standards as far as domain controllers, file servers, SQL, Exchange, 365, backup tools, security to all of that kind of stuff. And you get access to it, you get the alerts, all of that good fun stuff. So, you got a lot of companies who I put Spiceworks in and I've never looked at it since. We're constantly improving. We're constantly upgrading and changing the way we do management. And the management tools that we use can also be used for your remote users. So we can monitor, we can monitor the remote users, the traveling sales people who have laptops with them. We can monitor and access those through these tools as well. Strategic consulting can be included, where we talk about, in fact, we want it to be, where we can sit down and say, okay, it's budget time. Let's go over the age of your equipment. Let's review. You've got a business initiative that's going to add this layer of complexity, whether it be a quantity or quality or new type of product mix. We can sit down and talk with you guys and talk with either you so you can talk with management, or we talk with management. Either way is fine with us. And one of the things we also do, I've been in your shoes. I've been a CIO, an IT director. I've been the one-man support. I know what it's like to talk to management about these concepts. And that's one of the things I can help you and coach you in more effectively talking to management, especially in these situations, and I hate to say this, but where management does not listen to you. You're saying the sun's coming up tomorrow, the sun's coming up tomorrow, the sun's coming up tomorrow, and they're like, yeah, whatever. I walk in as a consultant. Did you know that the sun's coming up tomorrow? Oh, geez, is it really? That's fantastic. My IT guy doesn't know that. We help you, so we make sure that we say, hey, your guy's saying the sun's coming up tomorrow, and we agree. And over a period of time, so we help with that. That's part of our goal. This is a relationship. Why do we do that? Because that's how we keep you happy. In a traditional managed service provider, the goal is supporting the company. In a co-managed IT situation, our goal is to manage and support the company through and with you. And there's a huge difference between those two. Huge difference. So some sample arrangements that we've got. There's one healthcare company in Northeast Ohio. They have hundreds of users. We handle all of their SQL stuff. And by all of their SQL stuff, there's a couple terabytes, multiple servers, replication, all that kind of fun silliness. Another manufacturing company, that's all we do is just the SQL. Another manufacturing company, with about 60 users. They've got a one-man IT shop. He handles, we give him the monitoring, the backups, the security, all that kind of fun silliness. When there's a project, we get involved. When he wants to do the project and he just wants to run it by us, we get involved. Either one's fine, or just advice, or he's lonely. An insurance organization with about 80 users. They handle workstations and users. We handle the infrastructure and servers. And this is a good example where we've got a couple of companies like this. This is a good example of situations where, okay, there's a user, but it kind of looks like it has to do with the file share. Is that server or is that where? We don't care. We will get involved. We will help solve that issue. We will, whether it be with the IT or we'll take care of it. And if that ever happens too much, then we'll go back and saying, hey, we've got a little bit of a scope creep. But if it happens once or twice, we don't care, truly. Manufacturing organization with dozens of locations, hundreds of users. We monitor all of their locations. And then we've got a couple of locations where we provide all of the support for IT. And for the remainder of the locations, their IT, which they've only got a couple of IT people, handle it, and they decide when they want to escalate tickets or support to us. And I'll let you read those, but we've got a couple of comments that people have said about liking us, which, I don't know. I like most of the people here. I'm not crazy about me, but what can you do? So what we do is we basically sit down and we take a look at your network, and we have a conversation where we talk with you. And here's the contact information. We do a free network evaluation where we'll give you here's the inventory, here's the alerts, or excuse me, here's all of the information that we've got. And then we get into a conversation of where do you want us to automatically get involved, in which case that increases the monthly fee, or where do you want us to get involved when you need us to, which that would be a simple time and material. Now, here's the catch. I don't care. Either one of those is fine. We're extremely flexible here. Just that's what the agreement will be unless we decide to change it. So we just signed up a customer, and this is on a traditional managed service agreement, but we gave them a couple of proposals whether or not we included on-site. And including the on-site increased the cost by about 20%. Okay, and what we decided, and this was absolutely fine, and I love this solution, is we said, let's start with what we call the platinum, including all of the on-site. And then in a couple of months, if it turns out it's not really needed, then he can turn it down to the gold, in which case everything is remote. And we could still go on site, but it would be an additional billable charge. And in that particular case, so he's got the flexibility to make changes to the agreement based on what his needs are, not waiting for when the annual renewal comes up, because there is no annual renewal, it's month to month. So this is what we're doing. Co-managed IT, it's a partnership with existing IT organizations where it's the relationship that's at the core of it, not the fine print of the agreement. Okay. Well, we would love to talk to anybody. And like I said, this is as much of a sales pitch as it gets. So we'd love to come in, do a network audit, evaluation, make a couple of proposals. We include one thing I don't think I made clearly enough, or possibly not clearly enough, is our monthly agreement. Our monthly agreement can actually include all of these things. We can include the antivirus endpoints. It can include the backup solutions. It can include all of those as an addition. So a majority of your IT budget can be well defined. So, okay. Well, we're about a minute over. So I guess that's it then. Thank you all very much, and hope to see you. Bye.